There was a time, folks, when there were actual principled conservative and moderate Republicans. I know it. You're thinking to yourself, well, there also were a time when there were velociraptors and megasauruses. I know it does seem that long ago, but it wasn't that long ago. And it wasn't that long ago that, at the very least, those who were anti-choice and anti-women in their beliefs on abortion, at the very least, understood that a woman who was the victim of rape or incest, or if her health were in danger, and certainly her life, that these were times when abortion was absolutely medically necessary. Okay, we have such a radicalized Republican Party at this point that this is no longer common belief. In fact, to state that you think someone should have the right to choose what they do with their own body under any circumstances, including as the victim of rape and incest, labels you a liberal or something. And again, we heard about it this weekend. We've heard it here in Ohio as they're trying to pass a ludicrously right-wing law. You may remember Mean Gene Schmidt, crazy congresswoman from the Cincinnati area where I'm from, who got up one time in her tracksuit and insulted a former American hero who was a congressman, called him a traitor on the House floor, which that's the language you're not supposed to use there. But Republicans have never been shy about breaking through those walls. Well, this weekend, it was Governor Pete Ricketts, who's a governor of Nebraska. Family owns, or did own, the Tribune and the Cubs, and rich, white, out-of-touch, right-wing nuts. And so Dana Bash of CNN said to him, do you think the state of Nebraska should require a young girl who was raped to carry that pregnancy to term? Governor Pete Ricketts, quote, those are babies too. No, if you have an early abortion, they're not babies. They're zygotes and blastocytes that are cells. But okay, well, let's not debate a dumb person, right? You only get dumber in the process. The key thing here is that you need to understand is where we're headed. Because if they're going to ensure, even if you're raped or a victim of incest, but no matter what, if they're going to really enforce these laws that Pete Ricketts wants to enforce, and that Gene Schmidt wants to enforce, and that Ted Cruz, Greg Abbott, Ron DeSantis, every one of these complete loons who keeps passing these types of laws wants to enforce, there are a number of things they're going to have to do. And they're being honest about it now. So let's talk about it. In Texas, they found a way to try to not just get around Roe versus Wade before it was overturned, which again, we all know that Justice Alito's leaked opinion says they will do in June. But they found a way to incentivize friends and strangers to spy on women. That's correct, spy on them. Maybe steal your personal health records, or if you're in the medical industry, have access to them and share them with the state. So if you're committing an act against the law, which is a woman controlling her own reproductive choices, they're spying on you. Think of them creating, and I'm not exaggerating here, an ICE-like force to monitor women, to follow women, created to investigate, quote, risky women. You know, those that think their own thoughts, right? Like the witches back in the old days, and might choose to exercise control of their body. Very real. Those who've recently had a miscarriage, a full investigation, humiliating you, talking to your employers, talking to your husband, talking to your friends, investigating physical evidence. Think about them tagging women who they suspect. Could it be with a chip? I mean, amazing, right? The chips, we were able to get those in all of the vaccines, so they're in all of us now. But quite seriously, tagging them in a way so they can track their every movement. Harassing anybody that knows them, installing cameras at their place of work and maybe even their home, audio devices to see if they can listen in. If they have a rightful suspicion, they get a warrant. This force to suspect that you're thinking about, and you're in a conspiracy to have an abortion. What else could we look at here? I mean, these are all logical steps if you truly want to enforce this, and if you want this insanity to happen. And does anybody believe that these nuts like Alito and Cruz and Hawley and Rand Paul and DeSantis wouldn't enforce these laws? And that's not even talking about the super crazy ones like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar and Louis Gohmert and Lauren Boebert. The list goes on. But understand this, they will look into every aspect of your life. They have to. Some of these states are now talking about laws that will now allow you to leave the state to have an abortion. Think about it. How would they enforce that? Well, they'd have to spy on everything you did. They'd have to look into your personal records, maybe hack into your computer to find out where you're planning on going on vacation. Is there an abortion clinic somewhere nearby? Is it legal in that state? They may have to put an ankle bracelet on you so you can't leave. And certainly if you're thinking of leaving the country and going to a pro-choice country, your passport's gone. This is real stuff, people. And I think we need to be having this conversation. This is politically deadly for Republicans. It really is. But that's not even all this is about. We should be just beating the shit out of them with this message and putting these in our campaign ads and showing the barbarity that we're headed for. If this June ruling comes down, state laws in Ohio and Iowa and Texas and Florida and North Carolina and places, not North Carolina because we have a Democratic governor, thankfully, but a bunch of places like that are already passing. There's not much else to say. If you're not fully freaked out, by God, you should be. Right now, there are ways to take care of this. We have an Equal Rights Amendment that has the 38 required states supporting it. You may have seen a video by Alyssa Milano talking about this by Now This News. Go find it and watch it, because the truth is that we're letting an archivist stop us from adding this amendment to the Constitution that has the requisite votes based on some technicality about a time limit, that doesn't exist in the Constitution, that just exists in the legislation. Let's openly talk about this. Let's beat the hell out of them on these kinds of matters. And let's make it so that domestic abusers don't have the right to spy on their ex-wives or their girlfriends and share that information with the state. Let's make it so that rapists and those that commit incest don't have visitation rights, correct? A bunch of states they will. You have to carry their baby. They raped or committed incest against you, and now they have the right to be a part of that baby's life. It is sick. And if we share this with most American people, they'll remember that Republicans also are sick. Thanks for watching, guys, especially after something so serious as this. I hate to ask, but obviously this channel's been growing. I want this message to reach more people. So I ask that you please like and subscribe. I ask that you put on your notifications if you do subscribe, share with all of your friends, and leave a comment. Tell me how I'm doing, even if I suck. Seriously, thanks so much for listening.